Have you ever thought about how the real meaning of a word could be hiding right in the sentence next to it? Well, today we're going to uncover how some of the most powerful answers are often hidden in plain sight. We'll do it by looking at one of the world's most influential texts.
So think about it. When you come across a word and its meaning feels, kind of vague, like a piece of a puzzle's just missing, what do? Most of us, we just grab a dictionary. But what if the text itself holds the key? That's the puzzle we're going to solve together.
All right, so in a text like the Quran, certain words carry a ton of weight. Let's take the Arabic word kufr. Now, it's often translated as disbelief, but what it really means at its core is rejection. And for a word like that to have any real impact, you have to ask one simple, crucial question. Rejection of what?
Exactly. Without knowing what's being rejected, the word is just empty. Think about it. I could reject a bad idea, or I could reject a helping hand. The meaning completely changes, right? The incredible thing is, the text itself almost always gives you the answer if you just know where to look.
To really see this in action, let's dive into a perfect case study. This comes from an analysis by Khalid Al-Sayed Hassan, and it all centers on a single, really puzzling verse.
So here it is, verse 36 from Surah Fatir. It talks about those who rejected, or kafaru, and what happens to them. It ends by saying, this is how every kafur, or rejecter, is paid back. But do you notice what's missing?
That right there is the heart of the puzzle. The verse lays out this incredibly severe consequence for rejection, but it never actually says what they rejected. It just kind of leaves you hanging. So where do we go from here?
Now here's where it gets really interesting. You might think the clue is buried in some obscure commentary or an ancient dictionary, but the truth is it's remarkably, almost shockingly close by.
That's it. That's the secret. The key to unlocking everything in verse 36 is just sitting there, waiting for us one sentence away in verse 37. It just goes to show you sometimes the biggest answers are right next to the questions. Let's take a look.
And here is that very next verse. It's describing the people from the first verse, and they're crying out from the fire. And pay attention, because in their plea, they give us the exact piece of the puzzle we've been looking for.
Okay, so let's break down what they're saying. This isn't just a random cry for help, it's basically a confession, and it's the key to this entire mystery.
Just look at what they're asking for. They don't say, let us go back and say we believe in something. They don't ask to perform a ritual. Their one single desperate regret is all about their actions. They want a do-over, to do righteous deeds other than what we were doing. This is our smoking gun.
And boom, there it is. The connection is crystal clear. The vague idea of those who rejected in verse 36 is suddenly brought into sharp focus by verse 37. Their kufr, their rejection, was a rejection of doing good things in the world. It was about their actions.
And it doesn't stop there. The end of verse 37 calls them wrongdoers. Why that specific word? Well, because their rejection of good deeds wasn't just a passive thing. It led to unjust actions, they hurt people, they were unfair. And, crucially, the verse says a warner had come to them, which means they knew better. They just chose to do wrong anyway.
And here is the final piece of the puzzle. Remember how verse 36 calls them kuffar? That's an intensive form in Arabic. It doesn't just mean they rejected good deeds. It means they did it excessively, habitually. This wasn't a one-off mistake for them. This was a lifestyle.
So, what's the big takeaway from all this literary detective work? Well, we can zoom out from this one specific example to find a really powerful, universal rule for understanding complex texts.
It all boils down to this simple idea, the golden rule of context. Whenever you hit a word that feels confusing or incomplete, don't just look it up, look around. Read what comes right before it and what comes right after it. As we just saw, the text itself almost always defines its own terms. It's a simple four-step process, and it can unlock a whole new level of understanding.
At the end of the day, this whole thing is a great reminder that texts like the Quran are often their own best dictionaries. The answers we're looking for are rarely far away. They're woven right into the fabric of the surrounding sentences, just waiting for us to find them. Context, you see, is everything.
And that really just leaves us with one final thought. If a huge, significant concept like rejection can be so clearly and specifically defined by its immediate context, just imagine what other profound meanings are out there, hiding in plain sight, just waiting for us to look one verse up or one verse down.